This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
There's a lot of obvious shortcomings when it comes to today's large language models. Some are serious, like hallucinations and jailbreaking, and some aren't so serious, like when a large language model says you're absolutely right when you give it feedback, or how most models can't even create a file. Well, at least that last shortcoming may finally be a problem of the past. That's because Anthropic's slipped in a major feature recently into its Claude chatbot, the ability to create common files with natural language. No more copy and pasting. No more getting rid of that weird format. It sounds small, but it's actually kind of big. Because if you're anything like me, you probably have hordes of helpful chats inside of large language models where the info just sits there. All those golden nuggets that just go unpicked and unused because you forget to do the copy, paste, export dance to extract and save those valuable insights. So that's what we're going to be tackling today. What I think, at least right now, is the simplest way to create files in an AI chatbot and probably Claude's most slept on feature. All right. Welcome to Everyday AI and our AI at Work on Wednesday series. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Jordan Wilson, and if you're new here, this thing is for you. It's your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday business leaders like you and me make sense of all these AI updates that are coming at us nonstop and helps us make use of it and actually save time, grow our companies and our careers. So if that's what you're trying to do, awesome. It starts here with the live stream podcast, unedited, unscripted. But if you want to take it to the next level, make sure to go to our website at youreverydayai.com. There, we're going to recap just the highlights from today's show, as well as all of the other AI news that's important. All right, let's talk file creation in Claude, though. So stick around. And by the end of today's show, you'll understand why traditional AI chatbots really struggle to create simple files. Like, it shouldn't be that hard, but for some reason it is. You'll also know how Claude makes this work and the best practices for how to use it. And you're going to get some insights on some of the best use cases for file creation inside Claude. Also, stick around to the end. I'm going to tell you how to get our guide on the 10 best use cases for file creation inside Anthropic Claude. So this got slept on, and here's the reason why. Anthropic sometimes is one of the most innovative companies, but their go-to-market strategy is pretty bad, I'd say, mainly because some of their better features just get rolled out to their max users, which is those people on the $100 or $200 a month plan. Let's be honest. When ChatGPT or Google do something, have a huge feature, and it's only available to those on the highest tiered plan, it's usually something kind of groundbreaking, right? Like when Sora first came out, or, Google, same thing when their VO3 first came out. So when Claude rolls out file creation, yeah, it's really cool, but it's not a sexy feature that's going to grab headlines. And Anthropic is very far away in terms of number of users from Gemini and ChatGPT. So that's why some of these helpful features, if they don't get rolled out to everyone at once on Claude, you might miss them. So they actually rolled this out to just the higher tiered people in September. And then about last week, they completed the rollout to everyone. All paid users in Claude. So here's kind of the new capabilities at a glance. So now I think this solves one of the biggest productivity problems, actually making native files inside of an AI chatbot. Like I said in kind of the opening there, you probably, whether you know it or not, you probably have so much incredible information inside of ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or Copilot that just sits there unused, and it could probably really help you. And one of the reasons why, well, If you've ever done this and you're trying to copy and paste something from a chatbot into a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word document or an Excel sheet, sometimes large language models have very strange formatting. It adds these extra tabs sometimes or a strange background color that it seems like you can't get rid of, right? So not only is this a huge leap forward in capabilities if you are a pro user of Claude on the $20 a month plan, and you can export files, but you can also sync them to Google Docs, which is actually a huge time saver for me personally, because I usually use between, I think like 3 computers on an ongoing basis. So even downloading files for me, sometimes I'm like, that's not very helpful because then I'll forget to sync them, in my Google Drive. And this also tackles that copy and paste time trap that I talked about in the formatting wars that plagues many power users. So here's some of the new changes and some specifics. So, like I said, they rolled this out originally in September, but now in October, it's going out to all pro users. Here's how it works. It essentially runs Python and Node.js, a JavaScript file, in a sandboxed environment behind the scenes. And I'll tell you in a little bit why that's actually extremely important. And it automates the conversion, analysis, and extraction workflows through simple chat prompts, eliminating the tool switching that you would normally have to do, right? So I do this constantly in ChatGPT and Gemini. What I have to do, if I really want something, I either have to copy and paste it in the formatting. Y'all, it's one of those things. If you know, you know. If you're a power user, you know those little annoying things that it's like, oh, this should take 30 seconds to fix and reformat, and then it takes 10 minutes, right? Sometimes I literally have a text edit document open, and I paste it in. I strip all formatting. I'd copy and paste it into a Google Doc and reformat it because, yes, some things are just that difficult when it comes to this sticky, weird formatting of large language models sometimes. But it's not all perfect fun and games. There are added security risks in doing this, which I'm going to talk about, as well as reliability issues. There's still some formatting tweaks that you're going to have to do. And there's, like I said, still limited access. It's only for paid users. All right, here's how to enable it. So if you are on any paid account in Claude, you're going to go into your settings. On the left-hand side, you're going to see a capabilities tab, and then you are going to enable the toggle that says code execution and file creation. And that's it. And you will have to kind of prompt Claude to do this, right? Hey, create a PDF, create a PowerPoint presentation, create a spreadsheet in an XLS format, right? Create a Word doc, doc, right? Sometimes if you're not too specific, it won't do it. It'll just create a normal artifact, right? Which artifacts in Claude are great, right? They're kind of an interactive window where you can render and run code, but also it will, can save like a document there. But if you don't ask it specifically, sometimes it won't do it. So unlike, certain features in ChatGPT or Gemini, this isn't a toggle, right? File creation. There's no file creation toggle. You just have to enable it in your settings and then prompt and tell it to create a specific file, and then it'll do it. This is kind of technically a preview of the newer skills feature in Claude, which I don't know. By the way, like, I don't do a ton of Claude stuff, and there's reasons, and I'll probably get to those reasons here in a minute. But if you want to see me do something on the skills feature that Claude rolled out about a week or two ago, just let me know. Just drop skills in the comments, or if you're on the listening on the podcast, which we appreciate on Spotify, just type in skills. All right, so I'll know if people really want to see that or not. So that's how you enable it. Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI. All right, let's put AI to work, y'all. Our new Wednesday series, we do live demos. Nothing ever goes wrong. That's a joke. Doing live demos of generative AI is extremely dangerous. And by dangerous, it just means it might blow up in my face and make me look silly. But let's hope it doesn't. And let's go ahead and get started. So I have two prompts kind of ready to go. And I'm going to get this started and do it live. All right. So I have my first one going. That is the exact same one. All right, cool. Yep, that's the same one. So good thing I stopped myself from doing that. All right. So I started my first one and I'll tell you all what it is here in a second. Let me get my second one going so I don't have to type this one out. This one takes a little while. And I'm actually going to do Opus for this one. All right. So we're getting a little variety. All right. So let me tell you now that it's working live. All right. Let me tell you what this first kind of example prompt was. All right. So let's think of the capabilities of this new file creation. So yes, it can create files, which is cool, right? But think, large language models are multimodal, right? You can input different file types as well and convert them and mix and match them. I wanted to do something fairly simple that I knew Claude would be able to handle, or hopefully be able to handle. So in this case, what I did is I uploaded a PDF. All right. This is one of my shows that I did a while ago, maybe, I don't know, 3 to 6 months ago. And so in the prompt, I said this presentation, so the presentation is a PDF that I uploaded, is about 6 months old. Research deeply info from July 2025 to October 2025, and add 3 more slides in the middle of this presentation and save it as a PowerPoint file. Your only deliverable is an updated presentation saved as a PowerPoint. Yeah, I did do this prompt a couple times because the first time, even when I said save it as a PowerPoint file, it didn't, right? So yeah, you might have to say it 2 or 3 times, or if your prompt gets a little long and you say it once in the beginning, you might just have to sandwich it again at the end. There's a technical term for that, but yeah, it actually works with large language models. If you have something longer, sandwich it, say it once in the beginning, once in the end. Then I said, keep the rest of the presentation the same, but you need to find a seamless way to create the updated content and ensure it's styled and formatted the same way and uses the same tone of voice and angle of messaging. All right. And then I gave it the link that went along with that podcast so it could go find more information, right? Because obviously I want to make sure that it looks at the entire transcript that went along with this podcast presentation, right? So when I say presentation, if you listen on the podcast, I always have I'm always sharing my screen. It's usually nothing overly visual. In this case, nothing crazy visual, but I'll explain this to you here in a minute. But I just uploaded a PDF. It's usually the slides that I share on the screen during the podcast. So a couple of things that are hopefully going on that the model will do. It will read through the file I uploaded. It will go and look up additional information on the website that I gave it. Then it'll hopefully go out and do some research. Then it's probably going to run a lot of Python code and start creating and converting, right? That's the other thing. I gave it a PDF. I asked for a complete PowerPoint file. So it's going to probably, again, generative AI is generative. You're going to get something maybe a little different every time. It's probably going to recreate this PDF presentation in a PowerPoint file. It's going to try to make it look as much as it can like the original, which I just created in Canva. It's nothing, like I said, overly visual. And then it's going to insert in hopefully a seamless way that updated and fresh information. All right. So we're going to look. It's still cooking. We're going to give it a couple of minutes to cook. All right. Now, I'm going to jump into the second one that I did. All right. So, podcast people, you're not missing anything yet visual, but I will tell you when something happens. So, in this prompt, I am saying, in August 2025, A16Z came up with a list called the top, and this list is actually wrong, or my prompt is wrong, which I do on purpose sometimes. If you watch the show, you know that. Testing large language models, sometimes you want to throw them a little bit of a curveball to see if they can still find their way. So I said it's the top 10 Gen AI consumer apps, and I believe it was actually the top 50. So we'll see how Claude does. It should do fine. And by the way, the first version where it's recreating, I'm using Sonnet 4.5. And on this prompt, doing the A16Z list, I'm using Opus 4.1. So what I'm saying is you will research deeply, right? Focusing on the most up-to-date information. But I said from this list of 50, not 10, your task is to deeply research the top 20 from their list and then deliver me 3 different things. I want a downloadable, downloadable spreadsheet in XLS format with the top 20 on the list, their name, company headquarter location, number of employees, CEO's name, money raised so far, last reported revenue, and then unique product and features. Just that right there is a ton of research because the A16Z list does not have all that. Obviously, it just has like 1 or 2 of those 6 different data points that I'm asking it. So not only is it going to have to go find this list, the correct one, it's going to have to do a ton of research, run a lot of code to create this this spreadsheet and for me to download. All right, that's deliverable number 1. Deliverable number 2, I'm saying a downloadable PDF that sorts the top 20 by category of tool or use case and gives short marketing copy overview of the company and who can use their tools and for what use cases, right? So going from kind of bullet points and spreadsheets to practical use cases and some marketing language and to sort all of them by category. All right. And then last but not least, I'm asking for a downloadable PowerPoint that conveys this information. And here I'm giving the model a little leeway. I'm saying you can put it together however you see fit, but make sure it's info packed, yet sleek in aesthetics and a clean presentation. All right. So it's that one's working. We're going to give both of those some time to cook. So if you're listening on the podcast, what's essentially happening now is the model is going through multiple steps, right? So the live stream audience can see it. It's right now the second prompt. It's writing. It looks like it's writing some title slides right now in HTML. The other one is still writing some Python code. So happening right now in a secure sandbox environment. So let's jump back in and go over the details. And then we're going to check back in at the end. And we'll see if we can not make this show drag on just to get the results. All right. Why do most large language models fail at doing this, right? I will say this. Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, is not a large language model. It is a system that uses other large language models. Mainly, it uses OpenAI's models, but in some of their new agent releases from September, they did start to use some of Claude's, Anthropic Claude's models as well. So for the most part, why have traditionally Claude up until now, but also still ChatGPT and Gemini struggled to create files by default, right? If you use an agent mode, that's a little different, right? These, as an example, ChatGPT agent mode can nice and easily create Excel sheets, PowerPoint, etc. Although they don't usually look that good and it takes a very long time. But for the most part, large language models are sandbox. So their direct file system writes are intentionally disabled for safety. So it's actually a built-in feature that most models, non-agentic models, by default cannot write files. All right. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. And they're like, oh, these large language models are so dumb. Well, originally they weren't built to do that. Uh, Also, there are some complex and proprietary Office Open XML specs that are kind of unforgiving. So it's not easy, right? It's really not. That's one thing. Actually, Microsoft Copilot um, doesn't get a ton of fanfare for its ability to create, obviously, PowerPoints and Word docs and Excel sheets, because it's not easy for third parties to do it. And what happens, I've already said, users waste hours, right? Especially if you are a large language model heavy team or heavy organization. You probably spend more time formatting, cleaning, reformatting, combining outputs than it actually takes the model to generate something, right? So here's how it actually works and why I think Claude's solution is the simplest way to create files in an AI chat and one of the most slept on features. So it builds authentic files by running Python and Node.js in isolation. So that way it is a less of a security concern. It kind of isolates that process outside of your normal chat window, right? Without getting too technical. That's kind of how this works. And then it can generate, we went over most of these types, but it can generate .doc, XLS for spreadsheets, PowerPoint, PPTX, or PDFs on demand. And then it can also export them to Google Drive. So this bundles the conversion, analysis, and extraction into one conversational multi-step workflow. And it reduces, like I said, the app switching. It just allows for faster drafts, fewer handoffs, measurable time savings, and the thing that I like most, you're leaving less of your knowledge and insights on the table. Because let's be honest, y'all, I would say even for me, right? I'm starting to work Claude. I'm trying to work Claude more into my workflow, right? But I'm going to get my bone to pick, which many of you know what's coming. I've been trying to work this in more, mainly because I do so much in-depth, detailed work inside large language models. And I probably only end up saving 10% of them. Yes, large language models have memory, so it can reference those things. But again, I am a power user, right? A lot of times I'm doing 3, 4, 8 different versions of something very similar, and I only end with one kind of final version. But if you just have memory enabled, or if it can reference past chats, you don't know if it's going to get one of the first versions that was more iterative or a final version. That's why this is very important. All right. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and just get my bone to pick with Anthropic right now. It took me so long to come up with these demos to do because I wanted to show something impressive that someone could see and be like, oh, wow, this is cool. This guy did this in, the 15 minutes or 10 minutes, in a podcast. That's helpful. So many things in a single prompt. I don't know if it's the way that this file creation process tokenizes information. I'm not sure. So the first example, I uploaded a PDF presentation, an older one, and I just had it update 3 slides or add 3 slides. When I tried to update an entire presentation in one prompt, nothing else, right? Upload a PDF, gave it very similar instructions as the one I read out loud here 10 minutes ago. The only difference, instead of adding 3 slides with current information, it was just updating all slides with current information. And that did not fit in the context window, right? Literally, it couldn't complete that. I tried it 4 times. And at the, presumably halfway or 2/3 of the way through, it says, oh, you ran out of room in this context window, start a new chat. So yes, this feature sounds amazing in theory, especially when you can start, putting together multiple documents, right? Imagine some of the use cases, which I'm going to go over here in a couple of minutes, dropping many different file types and then having it do research and all of these things. But unless you're on that max plan, the utility is actually fairly limited for that very reason. The context window, Again, I don't know if it's how this process is tokenized, because it's actually not a ton of information, right? Maybe it's because it's going in loops and having to re-gobble up this information over and over, but it's actually not super not super helpful unless I think you're on a higher plan. We'll see if the A16Z example works this time, which that one I would say is pretty impressive, but it is more straightforward. It's kind of one round of research and then repurposing those results in different formats, right? So something a little more iterative, a little more hands-on, and might not work even if you're on that, $20 a month paid plan. All right. So let's jump in. It looks like we got a couple that are done. Let's take a look. All right. And here's where I will try to describe to our live stream audience what I'm seeing on screen. So I'm not actually going to download these files because Claude has the artifacts feature where it's going to preview them. So essentially what you're seeing on my screen is more or less what it's ultimately going to look like. So one thing I'll tell you, it actually does an okay job at creating PowerPoints, right? So I uploaded a PDF and it did a pretty decent job of trying to recreate it. It obviously didn't have, the screenshots or, as an example, I've my kind of my mugshot there on the front. So it didn't have access to some of those things. But aside from that, it did a pretty decent job at rebuilding the old version of the slide deck. And I can, again, this is a PowerPoint file that I can download, or there is this button. So in the upper right-hand corner, there's a download button, or there's an open in Drive. All right. So I can also slide and toggle to give this kind of more room. So my chat kind of is on the left and the artifact, which is rendering this PowerPoint, is on the right. So I'm going to scroll through. I'm actually going to scroll down and see where it added some new files. Okay, so it looks like it added slide 9, 10, and 11. So this is a 19-page presentation, and it looks like it added slides 9, 10, and 11. So let's just do a quick check. Here we go. So it says summer 2025, some new information here, Salesforce, Agentforce, Microsoft going all in with Copilot Studio, Mark Benioff admitting something at Dreamforce conference. All right, the great AI agent failure wave of 2025. All right, so okay, did a pretty good job at adding relevant, factual. Right, I'm looking at these bullet points. These bullet points are factual. Right, talking here on page 11, one of the new pages about AI coding agents, Codex, Copilot, and Cursor. Right. So I don't think Codex, as an example, was announced yet the first time I did this episode. So this did a pretty good job, right? So I can pretty easily, download this, make any updates that I want to, save it to Google Drive right away. So pretty helpful. So let's go to, that's not the right one. Let's go to our next one. Here we go. Okay. So pretty good job here, and it is done. So we have the 3 different things that we asked for. We asked for a downloadable spreadsheet that gave the top 20 out of 50, as well as the CEO, the company name, company location, number of employees, CEO's name, money raised so far, last reported revenue, and unique product or features. All right. So I'm showing here on my screen a spreadsheet here. Let me scroll down. Yep, it looks like it gave me the top 20 like I asked. I'm looking at the list. This is correct. I know 1 through 20 from that list because I've looked at it quite a few times. It got the HQ, CEO, employees, funding, valuation. So yeah, I'm looking at the valuations. Some look fairly accurate. Like as an example, I think it in here has OpenAI's valuation at 300 billion. They did have a recent, and this is only about 3 weeks old. There was a recent story that came out that put their valuation at 500 billion. So still You still need to go through and double check this. If you know these things in your head floating around like me, a little easier to check. But I'm looking at everything else in the spreadsheet. Everything else looks fairly accurate. So I'd say probably went through with maybe 95% accuracy, right? Which again, if you hand this off to a junior researcher, it's going to take them a couple of hours, right? Pre AI, it's going to take them a couple of hours and you might hope for, 95% accuracy anyways, right? That's why everyone's always like, oh, AI doesn't get everything right. Show me the human that hasn't made mistakes yet. All right. So the second thing I asked for, let's scroll down to it. And a lot of work here, right? Geez, I'm scrolling through kind of the summarized chain of thought here for Claude, and I did use Opus 4.1 for this second prompt. A ton, right? A ton of research that it did. I'm trying to look. It looks like it went to at least maybe 50, yeah, about 50, 60, 70 web pages right there. A lot of steps, a lot of running this Python code as well to get these final files. Let's just quickly look at the last two files. So here is our document, our PDF document. All right. So we have a nice little cover page here. Nothing special. I didn't ask for anything overly visual in the PDF document. I just asked for them to be categorized. So there we go. We have the general AI assistants and chatbots, those from the top 20. Number two, the second category is creative content generation. So you have your Midjourneys, Leonardo, Kling in there, 11 Labs, etc. Then you have your developer and coding tools like Google's AI Studio, Cursor, Lovable. Then you have your research and productivity tools. Last but not least, entertainment and social AI. So it did a really good job. I would have to go through and look at all the fine points, but it looks like it's getting some up-to-date and accurate information, right? So for ChatGPT, it says ChatGPT remains the undisputed champion of consumer AI with 800 million weekly active users. That's correct. And it's very up to date, right? I think OpenAI announced that 800 million weekly active users at their dev day 2 weeks ago. So it's getting and grabbing very up to date and accurate information. So looks like test number 2 did a really good job. All right. And then number 3, the output, gave it a little bit of leeway, just said create a PowerPoint, make it look good. You can choose how to present everything. So let's give it, it's loading here in my browser. All right. Our cover page, we have a nice bright blue color here. The second page, nicely formatted with some kind of breakout boxes highlighting some certain key facts and figures. So pretty good job, pulling some nice visuals. It's nothing that, I'm blown away by visually, but it's much better as an example than something that ChatGPT's agent mode would put together. So like I said, ChatGPT's agent mode can put together spreadsheets and PowerPoints. The PowerPoints are extremely terrible. This PowerPoint is decent, right? Again, maybe if you hire a college kid or, there's a junior researcher on your team that's not a, not a design kind of first person, this is about what you would expect. All right, so we have a nice bar chart here. Then we have AI categories, who's leading where. Nice, those 6 boxes with different kind of top bar lines. So from a visual standpoint, we got a nice pie chart here. Did a pretty good job, right? At least from a visuals, getting the information out there, gave me a quick reference chart here at the very end. So again, at least this is a passable PowerPoint, right? Where a lot of times if you're using, ChatGPT's agent mode, not always very good. Or if I'm being honest, the older version of Microsoft's even PowerPoint with Copilot, unless you're working off of a template, even creating it from scratch, I think this is maybe even better, or at least on par with how Microsoft does it within PowerPoint using Copilot. I think it's gotten a little bit better over the last few months, but when I gave it a more in-depth look earlier in 2025, this looks up to par or maybe even a little bit better. All right, so there you have it. But let's just quickly wrap this up. It's not without its flaws, right? There's still security risks like prompt injections that can allow malicious file instructions to access sensitive data. There's also been reports of frequent downtimes and inconsistent outputs, and there still is some problems with complex formatting, and it often fails at requiring extensive manual corrections or recreating documents. But like I said, I think usually what you get from the file creation out of Claude, I think it's always better than anything you would get from an agent mode out of ChatGPT. But for the most part, the formatting I'd say is clean 95% of the time. Those hiccups from a design perspective aren't too frequent. All right, let's leave you with this. I'm going to give you a couple example of time-saving use cases. So one is just file conversion, right? So as an example, uploading a 10-page market research report and converting it to a 5-slide PowerPoint deck, right? Probably something a lot of us do. Extracting key points from a lengthy Word document into presentation slides automatically, or transforming unstructured PDF data, right? I used to do this all the time back in the day, go through all these RFPs, 10Ks from big companies and, long PDFs, and having to grab all this unstructured data and then putting it into an Excel sheet with a single prompt. Another use case, data analysis that can then create something visual. So in this instance, Claude can ingest raw CSV sales data to detect trends and compute metrics. You can have a marketing manager, as an example, generate bar charts, even if they don't even really know or understand what most of the data is, right? So uploading a CSV and then exporting or creating a PowerPoint with a bunch of bar charts that you need. Another example, actually, you know what? The rest of the examples, we're just going to give them. I don't want to take up too much time, but if you do want more examples, I have 10 actual, very specific use cases with example prompts as well on, I think, some of the best time-saving examples. And a lot of these are stacking multiple elements, kind of like what I showed you, more like multi-step agentic flows, which I think, I went on a little rant about this last week. Like there's all these like demos, right? Everyone's just doing one little piece, right? They're going in and, here, I'm taking my bullet points and I'm making a PowerPoint. It's like, that's not how people work, right? The way people work is you're doing multiple rounds of research. You have multiple documents, CSVs, all of this, multiple iterations to create a PowerPoint. So in our example use cases, many of them are iterative. They are multi-step because I think that's how people work. And when you talk about time savings and creating files, this is how most of us are doing it. So if you want access to that, just make sure you find this very LinkedIn live stream URL. So if you're listening live, you know what to do. Just click that repost button on LinkedIn. If you are listening on Spotify, check out the show notes. We always leave a link to today's live stream on LinkedIn. Go repost this and I will share it your way. So I hope this was helpful, putting AI to work on Wednesdays. So now don't have to waste sometimes hours a week. Number one, you don't have to anymore. You can use this new setting in Claude. But number two, so much of your best outputs, all of these insights that you probably spend a lot of time on, they don't have to die there in some random chat, right? That's another time-saving element. I spend so much time going into old chats from weeks ago, right? Months ago, and being like, what was that? Mainly because I probably was either too lazy, too busy, or I didn't want to copy and paste and do all this formatting and save it, right? So now, at least inside Claude, it's a nice way to pull and extract, and even if you use Google Drive, to sync that knowledge automatically. So I hope the show was helpful. If so, let me know about it, share, but also go to youreverydayai.com. If you haven't already, sign up for the free daily newsletter. We're going to be recapping the highlights from today's show and giving you all the AI news you need to know to be the smartest person in AI at your company. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.